the phone line at the end of the presentation today so that you can answer questions, or sorry, if you can ask questions over the phone as well if you'd like to wait until the end of Stephen's presentation. So thanks again, everyone, for joining. We're excited to share this information with you today. I'm going to pass it off to Stephen. Thanks for presenting today, Stephen.
Hello. Thank you, Christine. Again, my name is Stephen McQuiggan. I'm Senior Principal Support Engineer for Single Sign-On. The CA Remote Engineer itself is it's available for 56 different products in CA. We customize it for each product, and we're going to be covering the remote engineer and how it is used with Single Sign-On, formerly SiteMinder. There's our legal statement. Okay, so the objectives of this webcast is to cover what it is, benefits of using it, how to run it, and understand what's collected. What we're doing with this tool as well is it's now included in the Windows version R1252 SP2, and it will be included in the Linux version as well when we release that for SP2. So the webcast agenda, we're going to why CA Remote Engineer, and the location and how to run it, what it's going to be collecting, go through a short demo, and answer any questions that you guys may have. So from the benefits of using CA Remote Engineer is something that we as an organization and support realize we need to provide some diagnostics tools, you know, to find critical components of customers and drive down issue resolution. That's the main purpose of what we want to try to accomplish. CA customers, we've listened to the NPS surveys, and this is one of the biggest feedbacks we get from our surveys is faster time to resolution. So CA Remote Engineer itself improves the customer experience, you know, reduces the number of requests of diagnostics information, the back and forth between support engineers and the customer. It saves customers time running multiple commands. It saves time to automatically consolidate all of the data into a compressed file, and then it can also be used to upload to our support site for the specific issue they're working on. And this is something that our CEO has provided some more feedback on the NPS surveys as well, and he has a statement there concerning it. So how we see issues evolving in support, and there's a lot of analysis going into these, and I'm sure as customers you see this a lot, and you know, issues get logged into support. We do some initial analysis, we collect some logs, do some more analysis. We look for some configuration information, we collect some more logs. You know, there's quite a few back and forths, and we're working towards just eliminating as much as we can in this back and forth. So we introduced the Remote Engineer at the beginning. So when you open a case, and if it's applicable, policy server case at this point, you'll get a pop-up to run this utility, and it would be speed things up dramatically. Our expectation is we'll get a lot of information right up front after running it, and the file's uploaded, and we'll be able to cut down a lot of the back and forth. We'll read the logs and hopefully be able to provide a solution in a much shorter time frame. So how do you get CA Remote Engineer? Again, as I said, the CA Remote Engineer is now included with the product. So if you're installing it on Windows, you'll see a CE SiteMinder. You'll now see a new folder in there called Remote Engineer. And that's where it's going to be located when it's bundled with the product. It can also be downloaded and downloaded via remoteengineer.ca.com, or you can go to our download center. If you go to our Remote Engineer site, you'll be taken to a site like here and provide you with the download version. We have a older version 2.0, but we're using 3.0 for SiteMinder. And there's some information on here as well if you want to read up on it.
Hey, Stephen, Aaron Berman just made a comment to let everyone know that you can also download this for older releases of SiteMinder as well. It's not just available for 12.52.
Yes, sorry, yeah, that is correct. It's for older versions. It's included in the product, and right now it's not included with Linux, but we can download it you can download it on the site, remoteengineer.ca.com, and run it at that point. Support engineers are also encouraged to, either attach it or direct the customer to where to download it and run it so we can help speed up case resolution. So there's nothing to install, CA Remote Engineer. It's all self-contained. It doesn't do any changes to your system at all. Again, it's located, with the product, it's located in a Remote Engineer folder. Otherwise, it's wherever you unzip or untar the folder. To run the product, there's two commands. We have a GUI interface and we have a command window. So for Windows version, remoteengineer.cmd is the Windows graphical interface. The graphical interface for Unix is remoteengineer.sh. If you're just running command lines, you can run re.command for the command line, or on Unix, run re.sh. And as a side note, for Linux, requires a glibc to run it in GUI interface. So the CA Remote Engineers framework, as I was saying, runs up to 26 different OS diagnostic commands, and it can run against 56 SiteMinder 56 CA products. It gathers diagnostics data. It can link to the support site and upload data. The option on it's optional to send the diagnostics to CA. So in the drop-down window is the product name. Right now it's in the display. It says SiteMinder. This is single sign-on, formerly SiteMinder. So there's an example of the Windows diagnostic commands, how it's collecting. In the example, it's doing some net stats and collecting other information about the system.
Stephen, we had two questions come in. One was if these slides will be available to the customers. I'm going to post the slides to the CA security community after this webcast, and I'll also email a link out to everyone who attended today's webcast. And then the second question was, what version do you need to download for the R12.52 base install? Is it Windows 2.0 or Windows 3.0? And what is the difference between the two versions?
Okay, so 3.0. 3.0 contains some additional data points on the SiteMinder side. We did some changes. There's also some diagnostics changes as well. The 2.0 was been out for a while, so we recently released it in November timeframe, the 3.0. So 3.0 can run against SiteMinder 12.5 and up for data collecting.
Thank you.
Yep. So CA Remote Engineer acts like a remote engineer by automatically running multiple diagnostics commands. It's pluggable to allow CA product teams to put specific checks into their product to grab different data points as needed. So at this point, we see a single sign-on. We had made some changes, and we collect some additional information about SiteMinder that will help us speed up speed up case resolution. So the display in the window is the start of it. We do have an option to collect Web Agent. At this point, that Web Agent is still at the 2.0, but when you select Web Agent, if you had it on a server that had a web server, you just would need to provide the path of where the web server is located, and it can also collect some information on the Web Agent side. Once it kicks off on the screen, we'll start processing commands and collect the data, and we'll go over what happens next. In the command window, it's pretty much the same thing as the GUI.
All right, we got 2 more questions.
Yeah.
Can you just zip up the files to download and then upload the case, because this customer's environment won't have direct access to the site to upload files?
Right. You get a little ahead, but yes, we see that as in our product specifically because of a security product. That is always a concern, and we've used this and given it and provided this for collecting data, and the file is compressed. It's a zip file, so that just needs to be uploaded normally, how customers normally do it. Not many I've seen from a SiteMinder perspective or single sign-on have actually used the the upload portion, mostly because the policy was not located in a location that will allow outside FTP or SFTP.
And what sites should they whitelist on the firewall in order to allow access from private networks?
So from a private network, as I was saying, it does an SFTP. So if they're not allowed to open up that kind of commands, then our suggestion is to upload the one file as they normally would upload all of the other SiteMinder files. And this is the area where you just, if you're not going to upload to the FTP, you don't check the upload part. But if you do and you're allowed to, you put the case number, your site ID, and your user ID email that you log in with the password, so that this will allow the upload to get to the location of your case. So what does it collect? So CA Remote Engineer gathers product version information, product logs, and configuration information. When configuration information for like SiteMinder, we grab the registry information, and from that we go out and we scan it, and we go and collect the logs from that. Operating system, we collect OS information, patch levels, some network information, disk, CA product registry keys, running processes, and there's other environment variables as well. There's the hardware information that we'll collect, the CPUs and memories, ports, et cetera. This is optional. Again, in the window, you don't have to enable this. You can uncheck this or select no. So once the program is done and completed, there will be a file, and it will be in the home directory of CA Remote Engineer. You can take the file and upload it manually, and it'll include your case number, host name, and product, and it'll be ending in a zip file. And so from our product side, from CA, single sign-on, what we do is on Unix, if you're running this, you will need to source your environment so that the program knows the integrity home. So it'll go in, it reads the registry, and based on the registry, it can get a lot of information about your SiteMinder environment and collect information as well. And there's a file that will put it into a CA product info XML file. Operating system information goes into a diag info text file, and the hardware goes into the same file as well. And as you mentioned, the presentation is uploaded, so I list out, we list out what is being collected, so you can review this. You can download it and run it and inspect it yourself as well. There's a file called SiteMinder.txt that has the commands that it's running. And from a SiteMinder perspective, we do a number of different things and collect. And here's a list, provided a list of everything that we collect related to the registry, publish, command, the config information, APS.config for APS, logs, to name a few. On the trace log files, inside the SiteMinder text file, I do limit to 10 log files. That's a configurable setting, but we didn't want to put them too much. But presently, right now, it's 10 files, 10 of the most recent files.
All right, Stephen, we have a few questions that came through.
Yep.
First one is it available to install on Linux servers? Because from Windows, we cannot connect to our Linux servers.
Some Linux servers. Well, we have a version on Linux. I mean, is the policy server on Linux, or if you want to, yeah. It's available on.
The follow-up question was, is it different from JMX monitoring or any advantages?
Well, this tool is a more of a collection. We do some diagnostics and some reviewing. I'm not sure what you're referring to as far as JMX tool, but we do, like I said, we do have it available on Windows and Linux. So the idea is that the product C-Remote Engineer will be on your policy server that you're running and be run from that to collect and do some diagnostics.
Okay, another question. It says log files are usually large. Will the tool be able to gather the log files? Is there some sort of zip or compression mechanism?
Yes, it's compressing the files. Again, we're only collecting 10. That's adjustable, but presently right now it's 10 recent files. So that, yes, it can be large. I mean, it could be a gig, even zipped, but it's the purpose is to collect all the data up front and for us to analyze.
Okay. So another question.
Yeah.
Sorry, we got a lot of questions coming in right now. Do you want me to hold them until the end, or you want me to keep?
No, I'm all right because this is. I mean, I'm just listing what's collected, but I'm almost ready for a short demo. But go ahead.
Okay. Is this only for use on policy servers, or can it be used on servers that only run web agents, as many times cases are opened and the request comes back for agent logs?
Right. So we have the capability, and I briefly went over it because it's in the 2.0 version original release. We include web agents, so it's still here. The problem with the web agent is it's harder for. It's a little more difficult to find out. A web server, can have hundreds of instances. So, in the web server side, you will need to select yes on the option. Let's go back a little bit. So on the web server side, if you look on the screen on the left, it says CA collection for SiteMinder web agent. If you select yes, you'll need to provide the location of your web server instance. Making sure that SiteMinder environment's sourced as well. If this is Linux, so when you select yes and the location, it does collect information on the web server itself too. Configuration information. It'll collect some logs in the web server logs as well.
Okay. What kind of system resources impact / usage would this tool have to the application? Can this tool be run on the SiteMinder server that is under heavy load between 200 to 250 AZ requests per second, or between 60 to 80 auth requests per second?
So the tool is it's collecting data. It doesn't. The diagnostic side of it isn't intensive. The tool would be like if we requested to zip whatever the command is. We compress the file gz zip, or we use on Windows a compress file. So so the resources isn't intensive. It can be run in parallel. You don't have to servers don't have to be shut down or anything. It would be similar to as if you were to get your logs manually, and select 10 to be put into a zip file and then copy them manually. Similar type of CPU usage.
Okay, great. And then, so yeah, we covered that you can, if you have Policy Server on Linux, you can install it on Linux, JConsole. And then, can running Remote Engineer cause any performance impacts with the Policy Server?
Yeah, I just went over that. It's not running it won't cause obviously it takes a little bit, but it doesn't take. It's not CPU intensive. It's just doing a quick diagnostic on reading some registry, and then it's going in and zipping up files, and then it's the same as any compression utility, so it's not too CPU intensive. It should be not a problem there.
Okay, and there will be an engineer supporting CA Remote Engineer initially, right?
Well, yeah, we educated our support engineers on this utility. And I assisted with it. We have a few people here as well that did more, in-depth, usage on it. One of the things I did post is in the communities, it's called Tips on Tech Tip. We've had some interaction with it, and I highly suggest all customers get involved in the communities and post feedback here and questions, and we'll get right back to you if you have any issues with it as well. And you can do that in your issue as well too. This is just another way of getting some feedback without having a case involved. But there's a few others tips in it as well.
Okay, I'll post a link to that tip in the chat window for everyone. What's the difference between Profiler and this tool?
When you say profile, are they referring to our the SiteMinder Trace Profiler?
I'm not sure.
All right.
Okay.
Well, our system profiler is from in SiteMinder, we select options to what you want to log. The CA Remote Engineer is going to be gathering that information about it, and it's also going to gather how you configure your profile as well. So sometimes, a lot of times, from a support engineer's perspective, it's you get a log, you don't get the headers on it, or you get parts of a log, and you're trying to figure out what columns are there, and what's being logged. By collecting the configuration of the profile, it helps us. Oh, all right, now we don't have to go back and forth and ask people to tell us what they selected for columns or whatnot, or what they, what components were selected, because there's no components listed. So that's if you're referring to a profiler, they're not the same.
Okay. When do you know the tool has gathered all of the data? Is there a dialog status box, or do we have to monitor the SMPS.log file for any diagnostic information?
All right. Well, I can do a demo. Show you. Yeah, it'll show when it's done. So I'm going to go on to a demo of the utility.
Okay, great.
Whoops, wrong.
Lots of questions, Stephen. You're doing a great job.
Yeah. Oops. Now I just got to find where I am. All right. Well, here's the presentation. I lost my screen. So here's the screen. So here's SiteMinder. I installed it. This is the Windows R12 version 1252 SP2. CA Remote Engineer. I get it in the F6 CA SiteMinder folder. So you'll notice when you install it that there's a CA Remote Engineer folder. And I've already run it once. So by running it once, this is what the zip file would look like. But you can run it more than once. It'll just increment them. So in Windows, as I mentioned, there's a CA Remote command, and that does the GUI. and then there's an re.command, which is command line. So we'll just launch the GUI from here. So this is the product download list. We will be changing this to, single sign-on, formerly SiteMinder, but presently it's SiteMinder. And there's many different products. So if you're a CA customer and you have, other products you're using as well, I'm not sure if they're publicizing it as much as we are, but they may be included here as well. And you can get more information from that team if you are using another product. So this is where the upload is, so I'm not uploading it. And advanced options, enable advanced options would be to collect, the system information I was referring to. It's as simple as that. Then you click the run. So it's going to come in, and this is where it asks for the web agent. I'm not collecting web agents, so I'm going to enter no and hit return. So everything else is all done. There's nothing more to be done. So we're going to wait for that to finish. Yeah, this is a little bit high. That's not too bad. Initial bump, but other than that, not much on the CPU. I've run this under load on the system. It does okay. So it's you can see, in the window all of the different information it's collecting, and then it says done, and that's when you know you're done. So at this point you can close, and you'll have a new zip file here. And in the zip file, this is a zip file you would upload, and it does contain the information for a support engineer to look at and analyze. It detected where my logs are located, and there's a logs folder, and here are the current logs that are on my system. In the CA SiteMinder folder, as I was saying, it grabbed I have APS on here, so it grabbed the APS config so we can understand how you configured APS. We also grab information from the config folder, which can include the XPS config, the tracelog file I described, JVM options file. These are all files that sometimes get asked for later on in a support case. Now we don't have to do that. It'll be up front, and we'll understand by looking at the, looking at the data.
David, quick question. How much is the CPU and memory on the system you're running?
This one, it's probably only 4. It's not a. This system is it's running on a ESX server. So it's got a CPU is not too big, 4 gigs of memory. So it's not a real beefy system.
Okay, thanks.
I can run it again. Okay. So in the DB folder, we'll collect information from the DB folder, and that will include the system INI file if it existed. Install and configure information. So when you install SiteMinder, we put logs in there, so if we had an installation issue, we would be able to collect that. We collect the logs folder that's in SiteMinder, and it may be different than what customers have configured, but in here, when you do XPS, Explorer, or Sweeper, and other things like registration, they would automatically get put into the logs folder. If this was Linux, we would get the SMExec log as well. So that's the demo. You can open up for a question. Yeah.
They said that they might have missed it, but do you need to run this as root or administrator?
So it's going to run as the user that and you run SiteMinder as on Linux, and on Windows. I installed this as administrator, but you can run it if you installed as a different user on SiteMinder. I would use that user.
Okay. One person pointed out that the zip process might make a system resource hit or take a system resource hit.
Yeah, it does take a quick in the early stage, but I didn't. We've done some testing on it. It wasn't extreme. So you have to take if your system, if your policy server is running and you have a high CPU going on at the moment, it's running, and that might even be the issue you're trying to troubleshoot. There may be some contention there, but the amount of CPU is strictly on zipping files. So if that's an issue, that would be an issue. If it was done manually as well.
Do you have to run the utility from the policy server, or can they run it locally and point it to a policy server?
That's run locally on the policy server. It has to be run on the policy server. It gets information, specific for the policy server. That's something, we can look into with our team. We have a team that works on this to consider, what we can do as far as running it remotely. Maybe, so you can collect multiple servers at the same time. That's something we can consider and put it into some kind of an idea as an enhancement.
And then going back to whether you use a administrator or not, they pointed out that you wouldn't be able to grab the registry if you're not an admin.
You mean, well, when you installed SiteMinder, installing SiteMinder updates the registry as well. So the information, we're not grabbing the whole registry, we're grabbing that branch. So I'd have to look at that, but I didn't see that as a problem on one of the earlier tests we were doing.
Okay, so I'll open up the phone now for questions. If anyone wants to ask a question over the phone, you can press #6 or *6 to unmute your line, or you can press the phone icon with the question mark next to it, and I can unmute your line for you if you'd like. Let's see. Jim Goodwin, I see you have, did you have another question? I just unmuted your line.
Jim? Hi, Jim. No.
Maybe not. Tony Pham, did you have any other questions? I see you as well. I unmuted your line. Are you there? Okay, Tony's not on the phone. Okay, so they said they're good right now. Okay. And then I'll also, it looks like people want a list of products that support remote engineers, so I'll get that from you, Stephen, as well, and include it in the follow-up email for everybody.
Yeah, I can get the list. It is in a drop-down, but yeah, we can get I think we should break it down. I can get a breakdown of which CA products to support it, in the 2.0, and then who has made the changes to the 3.0 version as well.
Okay.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? You can post them in the chat or the Q&A window, or you can ask over the phone by unmuting your line by pressing #6 or *6. Calvin, do you have any other questions? I just unmuted your line. Calvin Greer, are you there? Let's see. Oh, it looks like he's listening in. Okay, Calvin's going to ask another question via chat. Oh, here's a question. Is it supported on 12.51 also? Yes, it's supported on older versions of SiteMinder as well.
Right. We originally did this, and it was the 2.0 version it actually, I think it even worked for 6X, but so it's, this version is supported for SiteMinder 12.5 and up. And for 12, I think it's for 12.50, and Paul can correct me, we're going to, when the customer opens up an issue related to policy server, we're going to do a pop-up for running this utility if we feel it's needed.
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Stephen, could we also run a demo on Nix?
Linux, you mean?
I guess, yeah.
Yep. Oops. I think I can do that, yeah. Little problem with that window. Oops, I don't need this. I had it all set up.
Thanks, Tony. I didn't know that was an abbreviation for it. Now I know. So yeah, he's going to do a demo on Linux right now. And then, can you confirm that this will work with SiteMinder proxy server as well, in particular the Federation web services?
Right. So that falls on the web server side. So we did some additions on the web server. So we will need, that is something that's in the backlog, but we do need to configure this and set this up for SPS as well. Right now it's not for SPS or ASA agents or that type of server, but that is in the plans.
Okay.
So one of the things you need to do is source the environment. So I've got multiple versions on here. So I'm just going to run it against 1251, sourcing that environment. So basically, the first thing it checks on Linux is, it's going to check to make sure that you have NetE home configured. Otherwise, it won't run. So for Linux, it's not shipped with the product, so I need to go in and run it manually. Now most Linux you don't use the GUI, but I mean you can either run the sh file or re.sh. Unless that's not going to pop up, because my console might not be there. Yeah. Maybe not. Yeah. So it's the same dialog box you would get as the Windows. You can select. So when you say different products, if you download it, you will see the list of products. But like I was saying, we do need to specify 2.0 version and the 3.0 version. My assumption here is this is all 3.0 because it's coming packaged with the 3.0 version. So there's a long list: Wiley, Service Cloud, SiteMinder, Identity Minder, just to name a few. So just like the Windows version, we would run it. Right. Oh. And that was very quick. Mostly, I get the speed of it will depend on the logs. I think in the Windows I had a lot more logs. I probably don't have as many here. We've done some testing on it with large log files. The other thing I didn't cover was the checkup. There's a checkup utility here. Basically, the parameters I put. This system I'm using is on a ESX server as well, and it's got 4 gigs of memory, and I have many versions of policy server and web server running on it, as well as SPS. So I'm using all the memory. I pretty much get the disk full because I have so many versions of it, so I got to keep deleting files. But what it does is it does a product check to make sure the version's okay. This is the area I didn't really cover on the first part. I missed that, but this is the products checks, and you can click on it. It'll open up the page and give you a little more information about what it checked and some of the thresholds that I had set up on the in the config file and why it went over. So what's going to be, at this point, it checks the product version. It tells you what product version it is. We will be adding some different checks in here. We're going to be going in and, looking at threads, how many threads are running, how many threads are busy, and provide some additional details on that in the future here. So that's the Linux version, the GUI interface. The manual, the RE.sh is just a straight command line. You would type in the product name. I don't send to the SiteMinder. Is this correct? And it goes in and it actually checks the version, so I'm not going to upload the version. There's the web agent. There's no web agent on this box, and does the same thing. So that's the demo of the Linux version. Linux version command, and then the Linux version.
Okay, I just opened the poll to rate today's webcast. We have a few other questions coming through. One is support expecting customers to use this tool immediately because they need to ensure that the tool is not going to cause any other disruption?
Well, I mean, it's used, so it's recommended. We're not, we're recommending it to speed up the case because there's nothing in here on the tool that has never, that hasn't been asked for before. If you're a customer that, like we have some high security customers, and some of them actually scrape logs and remove usernames and things like that from logs prior to giving us the logs. That kind of information is the same as before. They would have to. We don't do anything in the tool to do that. So scraping logs and cleaning logs out for highly classified or information that you don't normally send, you need to do that. But we have the NDA with our NDA with customers, and nothing here we're collecting isn't anything we haven't done previously. Our goal is to do this in one shot instead of the back and forth. So the expectation. I mean, you say expectation. Our goal again is to lower resolution for cases. We've listened to the customers, the NPS scores, and that's what we want to achieve. If you get concerns about running it, performance-wise, we can take a look at closer and provide more details on some more specifics on that.
Speaking of the NPS survey, if anyone hasn't taken it yet, I'm going to post a link in the chat window. Okay, can you run this without the GUI?
DUI, what's UI?
GUI?
Maybe they need GUI interface, right? Well, that's what I just showed on the Linux here, and yes, okay. You can. Like you have an RE on a command in Windows, and you have an RESH on Linux. So there's no GUI interface. Remote Engineer is the X interface. So yes, you can run it with just a command line.
Okay. Can this tool be used for checking if we are running a supported version, WRT/web server, et cetera? Seems like it can.
Yeah, well, that's the first thing it checks, the version. So the config file, we list the versions we're supporting on the Paul server side. So we do on the web server side as well for the ones that we configured in 2.0. We will need to make some modifications of that. But that is when they do the product check and I show the button there, that's it's checking and it's green because you're running a supported version. If I ran this against the 6X version, it would come up as yellow. It would come up as yellow or red, and probably is not supported.
Okay. And is this freeware, or does it come with a PS license or new license altogether?
Well, that's a good question. It's available to download. I believe you have to be a CA customer and have a support. You have to have be able to log into the CA support site to be able to download it. So at that point, it's available, to CA customers. So it's not, freeware to the world.
Okay. Are there any specific target customers for this tool from your perspective?
Customers that run the policy server. It's we're not targeting. I've run it or had customers run it. With issues I end up getting that have been escalated or have been long-standing, and just to get everything up front. But we don't target anybody. We're just going to put it into the pop-up when the issues are open as a suggestion, to help speed up case resolution.
Okay, let me just check and make sure there's no other open questions. Like I said, if you guys want, you can ask a question over the phone by unmuting your line by pressing #6 or *6, but I'm doing my best to monitor all the questions in the Q&A panel. Okay. Does this recommend to use for Step 1 kind of cases as well?
All cases, yes, most definitely those two. Yep.
Okay. Okay, I don't see any other questions at this time. I'll keep the WebEx open for a couple minutes, even if you can hang out for a couple minutes. But I just wanted to thank everyone for joining this webcast today. It was a great webcast. I'm glad we could answer as many questions as we did. I will post the slides that Stephen presented today, as well as a video replay of this webcast to the CA security community, and I will email a link out to all of those who attended this webcast today. So look out for an email from me. My name is Kristen Malzone. Again, I'm the lead community manager for the CA security community. And I don't see any other questions coming in, just lots of positive feedback for Stephen saying thank you. So thanks again, Stephen. Hopefully we can provide more webcasts like this one to you all in the future around topics like this. So again, thanks to all who participated today and joined us, and I hope you all have a great weekend.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Stephen.